안녕하세요. You are going to learn more pronunciation rules or sound changing rules and one more way to express can or be able to in this lesson. Let's go. Let's keep learning making double consonant rules. It's getting difficult, so listen carefully. When the final of a stem, again, I said final of a stem, not just the final. It's a final of a stem. When the final of a stem is n consonant or m consonant and it meets the initial of an ending, again, it's not just any initial. When it meets the initial of an ending, 그, 드, 스, 주 consonant, the initial 그, 드, 스, 주 turns into double consonant 그, 드, 스, 주. I'll repeat one more time. When the final of a stem is n or m consonant and it meets the initial of an ending 그, 드, 스, 주 consonant, the initial of an ending 그, 드, 스, 주 turns into a double consonant 그, 드, 스, 주. Okay? There's no b consonant here. Maybe it's because there's no ending starts with b consonant. So probably you wouldn't have to worry about which rule includes b consonant and which one does not. Okay? The consonant cluster n, j, of which the first consonant n is pronounced, follows this rule too. The consonant cluster l, m, of which the second m consonant is pronounced, also follows this rule. This is not something new. You've seen this rule before, but you didn't learn the details. Let's see an example. To hug. The basic form of the verb hug in Korean is written 안다. But the stem an has n consonant as a final. Therefore, the d consonant in the ending ta has to turn into the double consonant d sound. So it actually sounds 안다. 안다. It's nothing, right? Let's see one more example. Let's turn the same verb into the present progressive form. You just need to add 고, it, 요 to the stem 안, right? 안, 고, it, 요. See if the sound linking rule has to be applied. Yes, it, 요 part has to be pronounced 있어요 or 있어요, right? How about sound simplification? There's no consonant cluster here, therefore you don't have to worry about it. How about 7 final sounds rule? N consonant is already one of the 7 final sounds, and the double final consonant s has already been moved up to the initial of the next block according to the sound linking rule. 안 is a stem, and 고 is a part of an ending. Because of the final n consonant in the stem, the initial 그 consonant should turn into the double consonant 끄 sound. So 안고 becomes 안고, 안고, 안고 있어요, 안고 있어요. I am hugging. It's nothing, right? When you apply the sound linking rule, the actual consonant moves its position. You know that. Because the round empty consonant has no sound actually. It happens to h consonant too. Let's talk about it very soon. Let's see the next rule. This is also about final of a stem and initial of an ending again. Plus, this is about consonant clusters which sounds l consonant. The single l consonant itself has nothing to do with this. There are cases where the initial d, s, j consonant after the final l consonant sounds double consonant d, s, j. But that's a different rule. We are not gonna go through it because it's about the words that have Chinese origins. You guys don't have any clue which word has a Chinese origin in Korean. So we'll talk about it later again. When the consonant cluster l, b, and l, t is used as a final of a stem, the initial consonant of an ending 그, 드, 스, 주 turns into a double consonant 끄, 드, 스, 주. Let's see an example. The basic form of the adjective short is 짧다 in Korean. The second consonant of the consonant cluster is silent. So the stem is pronounced 짤, and the initial d consonant of 다 turns into 따 sound. So it becomes 짧다, 짧다, instead of 짧다. Okay? Very good. Let's learn one more rule for making double consonant sound. This rule is used very often. It's about the final of a modifier form. When you put a verb in the future tense or turns a verb into a verb clause modifier in the future tense, you add final l consonant or 을 sound to the stem, right? When this final of a modifier form, l or 을, is used, the next initial 그, 드, b, s, 즈 consonant turns into the double consonant 그, 드, b, s, 즈. Okay? Let's see an example. Let's use the verb do, 하다, can do. You just learned how to say you can do something, right? You add final l consonant to the stem 하 and 수 있어요. 할 수 있어요. But it is actually pronounced 할 수 있어요. 할 수 있어요. 할 수 있어요. Yes, this pronunciation rule can be applied even though there is a space between two words in some cases, especially when they are spoken consecutively or one of them is a dependent noun, such as 수, or when they take a certain role as a group in the sentence. Let's see the next example. Will do. You add l consonant to the stem 하 and 거예요 to mean will do in Korean. 할 거예요. But because of the final l consonant in 할, the next 그 consonant in 거 block turns into 끄 sound. So it sounds 할 거예요. 할 거예요. 할 거예요. It will happen whenever you use the future tense form, so it wouldn't be so hard to remember. Now let's start talking about making double consonants. Let's learn something different and something new. Nasalization. This rule is super important because this time the initial of the letter block affects the sound of the final of the former block, and the final of the former block changes its sound. And there is no exception for this rule. Happy to hear it, right? Why do we call it nasalization? Because it's about the consonant n and m that vibrate your nose when they are pronounced, and they turn the final of the former block into nasal sounds. Let's learn about the rule. When the final 그, 드, b consonant in the former block meets the initial n or m in the letter block, the final of the former block 그, 드, b turns into the nasal sound n and m. So final 그 turns into sound, final 드 turns into n sound, final b turns into m sound. It's not very difficult to memorize because n and d are from the same sound family, and b and m are also from the same sound family according to our lesson 1. Of course, this rule includes all the consonant and the consonant clusters which sound 그, 드, or b. And this rule is applied to any final and initial consonant without an exception, no matter it's a final of a stem or not. We are sure it makes you happy and helps you remember this rule easy. Let's see an example. 한국말. 한국말, which means Korean language. The sound linking rule is applied? No. The sound simplification? No. 7 final sounds rule? No, not at all. But I can see the initial m consonant in the last letter of the word, and it turns the final g consonant in the former block to nasal sound. So it is pronounced 한국말, 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 instead of 한국말. Yes, even though you pronounce it 한국말, everybody can understand what you mean 100%. But we know you want to sound more fluent, so you should learn how to use this rule perfect regarding the fact that there is no exception for this rule in Korean. Let's learn one more important pronunciation rule and let's stop talking about the pronunciation rules. It gives me a headache too. It's about h consonant, which sounds like the English alphabet H. Let's call it aspiration or devoicing. It's not the official name for this rule in Korean grammar. There is an official name of this rule, but the translation of it would sound terrible to you, so you don't have to know that. Anyway, it's all about the consonant h. The final h consonant in the phone block turns the initial k, t, p, ch consonant in the letter block into the aspirated or devoicing or voiceless sound k, t, p, ch. When you apply this rule, the final h consonant actually moves up to the next initial and combine with it. So it's like final consonant u. It actually moves its position. H consonant has u consonant in it anyway, so it's easy to remember. Because of this, the consonant clusters which contain h consonant also follow this rule. N h and l h. Got it? H consonant in the final is normally silent, but when it meets k, t, p, ch consonant in the letter block, it affects the sound of the initial of the letter block. The interesting thing about this rule is that it works the other way around too. When the final k, t, p, ch consonant meets the initial h consonant in the letter block, interestingly, the final moves its position and combines with the initial h consonant, and it makes aspirated, devoicing, voiceless sound k, t, p, ch. Okay? So you can memorize two rules at the same time. And this rule includes all the consonant and consonant cluster which sounds k, d, p, j. Okay? But the displayed consonants and consonant clusters on this page are a lot less than you know, right? It's because it's hard to find a combination with the rest of the consonants and consonant clusters in Korean. But you don't need to think about that. Just remember it also includes all the consonant and consonant clusters which sound k, d, p, j, according to the sound simplification rule and 7 final sounds rule, okay? Actually, there is no b consonant in the first case, but you don't have to remember separately. It is okay to remember including b consonant because there is no such combination in standard Korean. Let's see an example. When you say you cannot do something, you use 못 해요. According to the 7 final sounds rule, the s consonant of 못 actually sounds d consonant. This d consonant combines with h consonant in the letter block and it turns into t sound. 못 해요 becomes 못해요, 못해요, 못해요. We told you that this pronunciation rule can be applied even though there is a space between two words in some cases, especially when they are spoken consecutively or when they are taken apart as a group in the sentence. This 못 sound never be used alone. Therefore, 못 and 해요 can be read as a group. That's why this pronunciation rule is applied even though there is a space between these two words. Whoa, you've learned very important things to sound more natural in this lesson. We'll keep teaching other pronunciation rules whenever we have a chance. Before that, please try to get used to the pronunciation rules that you've learned in this lesson. There's another way to say you can do something in Korean. Let's learn about that. You add final l consonant or 을 sound to the stem of a verb this time again and add 줄 알다 at the end. 을 줄 알다. Let's break it down and see what elements it has. You already know about the final l consonant and 을 sound part, right? You add this part to a stem to indicate assumption, expectation, or possibility. That's why you use this modifier form of a final l consonant or 을 sound for the future tense and verb clause modifier in the future tense, as well as the assistant verb, which is used to express what the English auxiliary verb can does. How about the next element, 줄? It's another dependent noun. You've never seen this one before, so listen carefully. 줄 is a dependent noun, which means it cannot be used alone. The first meaning of this dependent noun, 줄, is a method, and it's related to what we are learning on this page. That's enough. 줄 is a dependent noun, which means a method or a way, okay? The next element is 알다. You know this word, don't you? It means to know. Now you get it, right? 을 줄 알다. 을 줄 알아요 means you know the method to do something. And it can mean the same as 을 수 있어요, which is used to express you have an ability to do something. People use this one equally a lot to mean you can do something. I think I use 을 줄 알다 more, but it depends on the talking habit of each person. You might think that to know the method and to have an ability are totally different. In your language point of view, you might be right. There is also a slight difference of the nuance between these two, even in Korean. 을 수 있다 sounds a little bit more straightforward and stronger. And 을 줄 알다 sounds milder because you don't say you can do it. You say you know how to do it. You can use both interchangeably in Korean because when you know how to do something, it means you can do that thing anyway. But it's a little bit different in the negative form. What is the negative form of 을 줄 알아요? What's the verb which means opposite to 알다? Yes, 모르다. 모르다. 을 줄 모르다. 을 줄 모르다. It means you don't know the method to do something. You don't know how to do it. It's a little bit different from you cannot do something. I'll give you an example. If you want to say I cannot go to the party because I have something else to do, you should use 갈 수 없어요 or 못 가요, okay? But if you want to say I cannot ride a bicycle because I don't know how to do it, you should use this one 을 줄 모르다, 을 줄 몰라요. Is it clear? Okay. 줄 is actually pronounced 줄 with a double consonant j sound because of the modifier form of the final l consonant or 을 sound. You've just learned about it. 을 줄 알아요. 을 줄 알아요. 수 is always used with 있다 or 없다. And 줄 is always used with 알다 or 모르다. You can memorize them as a set. One more tip. When you use 을 줄 알다 or 모르다 to mean can or cannot, the 알다 and 모르다 part should be in the present simple tense. Why? If you put it in the past tense, the dependent noun 줄 wouldn't be meaning a method anymore. It will change the meaning to assumption or expectation, and it will change the meaning of the entire sentence. Let's talk about this very soon. Let's make actual sentences with 을 줄 알다 and 을 줄 모르다. Let's use the same sentence that we used for 을 수 있어요. Can you speak Korean? You, Korean, speak can or can speak. Let's ignore the subject you. Korean means Korean language. You can use 한국말 or 한국어. Let's use 한국말 this time again. It's an object of the verb speak, so you can add the object particle 을. 한국말을. 한국말을. Speak can. 말하다 is the verb which means speak, say, talk, and tell. But when you use this verb with the object which has the meaning of a language or other types of verb expression, such as story, you should use just 하다 part, except 말 sound, because it will be redundancy of the meaning. So the stem of the verb would be just 하. Let's add final 르 consonant and 줄 알아요. 할 줄 알아요. 할 줄 알아요. You don't need an explanation about how 알다 became 알아요, right? You remember that 할 줄 알아요 is pronounced with double consonant 쯔 sound according to one of the pronunciation rules that you've just learned. 한국말을 할 줄 알아요? 한국말을 할 줄 알아요? It's a question. When you actually speak, you can get rid of the object particle 을. 한국말 할 줄 알아요? 한국말 할 줄 알아요? If you want to show more respect to the listener, you can use the higher respect form. We recommend you should use the higher respect form, especially when you meet someone for the first time. As you learned before, you can turn both 하다 and 알아요 into higher respect forms because 하다 and 알아요 are both related to the subject you. Again, the main verb speak, 하다, and the assistant verb 알다, 알아요, are both the action of the subject, which are directly related to it. So you can turn both 하다 part, which is used to mean speak, and 알아요 part, which originally means to know, into higher respect forms. The higher respect form of the verb 하다 is 하시다, 하시다, right? And the stem is 하시. How about the assistant predicate 알아요 part? The basic form of the last predicate is 알다. As you learned in lesson 5 part 1, you add 시 sound to the stem when there is no final consonant in the last letter of the stem, and 으시 sound to the stem when there is a final consonant in the last letter of the stem to turn it into the higher respect form. But when the stem has final l consonant, it conjugates irregularly. You should get rid of the final l consonant and add 시 sound. Probably you don't remember, but you already learned about this. So stem 알 becomes 아 without the final l consonant, and add 시, and at the ending 어요, 아시어요, 아시어요. But the 시 sound and 어 sound have to be combined together and make one sound. So it becomes 아셔요 or 아세요, 아셔요 or 아세요. Let's use 아세요 because people normally use this form. 한국말 하실 줄 아세요? 한국말 하실 줄 아세요? Perfect. Yes, I can speak Korean. Yes, I Korean speak can. 네, 한국말 할 줄 알아요. 네, 한국말 할 줄 알아요. When you actually speak, you can get rid of the object 한국말 as you answer, yes, I can in English. But the main verb speak cannot be understood in Korean. So you can say 네, 할 줄 알아요. 네, 할 줄 알아요. Yes, speak can. You don't use the higher respect form for yourself, so general honorific form 알아요 is enough. Or you might want to answer no, I Korean speak cannot. 아니요, 한국말 할 줄. The basic form of the verb not know in Korean is 모르다. 모르다. 모르 is the stem. When the last letter of the stem has l sound and the stem meets the a, o, or at, ot sound, which is a part of the ending, the stem conjugates regularly. First of all, final l consonant is added to the first letter of the stem 모. So it becomes 몰, 몰. And the vowel of the second block l sound disappears. Vowel disappears. And only the initial l consonant remains. And it combines with the ending 아요. Why we use 아요 instead of 어요? Because the first letter 모 has a yang vowel 오. So you should use the ending 아요 with the same yang vowel 아. Okay? So it becomes 몰라요. 몰라요. 모르다 becomes 몰라요. 아니요, 한국말 할 줄 몰라요. 아니요, 한국말 할 줄 몰라요. Now you can make thousands of sentences with these two assistant verbs you learned in this lesson. What you need to know is just the current translation of the verbs and the nouns that you want to mention about. Okay, this is the end of lesson 7 part 2. You are going to learn how to put can or be able to in the past tense and the future tense in the next video. 그럼 다음 비디오에서 만나요. 안녕히 계세요.